Hello, welcome, and welcome back to the United Mates Football Podcast. Today's episode is a bit of a one-off in that my co-host Joe can't be here, so I'm flying solo on the presenting front. But fear not, listeners, you don't have to just listen to me talk for the rest of this podcast, because I'm delighted to be joined by today's guest. Seb White is the founder and managing editor of MUNDIAL, which doubles up as both a football magazine and a creative agency. They're even running a weekly podcast series called Giant, so in that sense, we're clearly bitter rivals. He's also the media director for National League Southside, Hampton and Richmond Borough. But there's another club very close to his heart, and that's Yeovil Town, who we will be talking about a bit later. Seb White, welcome to the United Mates Football Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, not bad. It's busy. It's busy on all fronts of my job. Deadline day for the podcast, the Giant, which comes out every week on Spotify, and also Hampton and Richmond are playing in the FA Cup first round for only their fourth time in their history on Sunday, and it's also on BBC. So what I thought would be a fairly low-key volunteer role as a media director has turned into quite full on as the world, not a lot of media descend on a very small but lovely, charming non-league football ground.
Well, hopefully the name of Hampton and Richmond Borough will be in the hat for the fifth round, and you'll be even busier, even more bombarded.
The fifth round. Oh my goodness, I'd like that. Yeah, but the second round would do because that'd be the first time.
Oh, I apologize. I misheard. I heard fourth over first.
Sorry. Yeah, first round. Yeah. But hey, let's dream big. Why not?
Yeah. We'll just jump to the fifth round. Why not? Exactly.
Yeah. So the chairman would be happy, and the rest of the board members would be extremely happy with that. But
yeah. No, I think maybe that's a trick. Yeah, if we can do that, we might as well. Otherwise, it's a little icebreaker, as we tend to do on this show. I've got a question, and then, as it happens to be more often than not, it's going to be a food-related question with these icebreakers. So, given all of the traveling that you've done for kind of traveling for football specifically, I'd imagine that you've enjoyed a decent variety of match day foods in your time. So the question is, what is your favorite match day food?
My favorite match day food. Now, I became a vegetarian 2.5 years ago, nearly 3 years ago now. But I will never forget how good the kiddie broth was at Kidderminster Harriers, which was something else. Soup. It wasn't really a soup. It was thick bits of meat, all sorts of things in there. The kiddie broth. I still dream about on those days when I probably had too many greens. But yeah, that is certainly the one that stayed with me the longest.
Famous Kidderminster broth.
They do a great pie as well. They do a great pie.
Okay.
Yeah, they're often put down in these charts as expensive pies, but it is like a full meal with a knife and fork, and it is incredible. So go to Kidderminster and have the food there, and the football will be alright as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, come for the football, I guess, stay for the dining experience from the sounds of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, moving on to a few personal questions for you, Seb, and I want to save a bit of Mundial chat for a bit later, so we'll focus on the pre-Mundial days for now. And taking it all the way back, in fact, I guess, how did it all start? How did you fall in love with football? And beyond that, what type of footballer do you sort of see yourself as? I mean, we've all played the game. Some of us still play. What position are you?
Yeah, good. Well, I first fell in love with football. My dad, my granddad, I had all their magazines passed down to me when I was little. So the first thing I remember was flicking through old shoot magazines, or goal magazines as they were known, World Soccer magazines. And that was it really for the start. And then I started getting shoot magazine myself, which then became 90 Minutes, became 442. But I grew up in a small town in Somerset, southwest of England, called Yeovil. And my school was right opposite the old ground. It was, and I would see it every single day. My granddad would go every other week for home games. My dad would as well, but he was often working. So my granddad would often take me. And and it all went from there really. And the old ground was very traditional, very old non-league football ground, known at the time for its sloping pitch. But it, the sights, the sounds, the smells. There wasn't 50,000, 40,000 people in there. There was barely 2,000 some Saturdays, but that was good enough for me. And I could see the floodlights in my bedroom as well. So that was it for me. And then the magazines. Alongside all that, reading the magazines and just getting them and just absorbing football in any way I could, which is very different back then. I'm 40 years old. which makes me feel very old when I say that. But yeah, we didn't have the internet or things like that back then. It was Shoot magazine, Match magazine, 90 minutes, the 442s and stuff. So yeah, that's where I fell in love with football, and obviously as part of that played football a lot. I was quite small as a kid. I had quite a late growth spurt, so I probably moulded. I started in centre midfield, but I would like to think I'm a decent centre defender who will give you might not be brilliant in the air for his height, but probably a little bit better on the ground than his height suggests. And I'll always give you 110%, whatever that is. But yeah, I haven't played for a while, actually. I'm sure, like most people, unfortunately, we've been unable to play, or it's been harder to play, hasn't it? So yeah, I'd like to get back into it, even if I am 40 years of age. So if anyone is looking in the West London area looking for a 40-year-old centre defender, then I'm here.
Well, I think, was it Zlatan's going to be 40, I think, next year, maybe. So don't count yourself out yet.
Well, that's true. Yeah. You can still dream, but yeah. Yes, I would like to. I would like to get back on the pitch soon. But yeah, I think that my days are behind me, and I think I'll be more off the pitch in a football club. Yeah, rather than on it. But yeah, of course, who doesn't dream about being Zlatan or anyone like that? As my background is non-league football, but I'll sit and watch any football, and sometimes there's nothing better than watching the best players in the world. And I'll be very fortunate in my job, but also my personal life to see some of the best footballers in the game. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Actually, I was going to follow up on your childhood and sort of becoming a fan of the game, but you sort of took the question from me. You mentioned already, was it Shoot and 442, all these magazines. I was going to say, what was sort of the first one that caught your eye? But you've answered that. I was going to say, for myself personally, I remember those magazines. I remember sort of the Panini sticker books.
Exactly.
Power Pods were quite an engaging sort of that was a very strange sort of like window that came and went. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Do you remember the Power Pods?
I don't actually. That might be. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
26.
26. Oh yeah. That the sort of thing that I think that might have I might have been around, rather than Power Pods, probably started reading like Loaded magazine or Sky magazine or FHM or something like that. And in my brief spell, when I didn't think football was as cool as those things. But yeah, I would. Yeah, Shoot magazine was. I still got my copies. They're all in my garage. I've moved house this year, nice. And my wife was like, "Are we still keeping these?" And I'm like, "These are staying with me." The Shoot magazines, all the magazines that I've got, and 90 Minutes was a big eye opening for me, and the fanzines as well. I used to read fanzines as and when I could get to games. Obviously, the non-league, there were fanzines in non-league, but if I went to a big game in London or up to Manchester or anything like that, then I'd always pick up the fanzines, and I still do. When Saturday comes, I can't believe I haven't mentioned them yet, but when Saturday comes is fundamental in my interest in football magazines, and I still subscribe, and I will subscribe till the day I die, I imagine, unless they do ever ask that question in the season preview to MK Dons fans, which they don't at the moment, which I'm fully on board with. So yeah, I'll subscribe for as long as I can on that. And
nice. Yeah,
sounds
like you have quite the collection. It sounds like you're still building a decent.
Yeah, I don't think the wife approves, but yeah, I mean they're there. So yeah.
There you go.
It is. They come with the package. They come with me, really. So
it's funny you mentioned the age difference and sort of where you were at potentially when these Power Pods came out. You mentioned FHM, and now that I think about it, this wouldn't have been maybe up your alley at this point. They're literally were like Kinder surprises that were like football themed. So it was like a chocolate egg with a footballer inside. Yeah. So yeah, if you were reading FHM, maybe you were a bit beyond that. To be fair,
maybe, yeah. But I mean, again, if in my garage there's an enormous amount of football tapped, or tapped. Some people say it's tapped. I don't think it's tapped. My wife thinks it's tapped. So yeah, I'm not surprised that sort of thing would probably have interested me in the right time. But yeah, it's that's a great thing about football, isn't there? There's so many different ways into it, and there's so many different things that people want to do around it, and what little things like that. I mean, I would probably go back and say. The Coca Cola balls, the Italian anti-Coca Cola balls. I remember them like it was yesterday. I won't know what colour the ball was in the last World Cup, which I was lucky enough to be in Russia. I wouldn't be able to do that. But Coca Cola ball from Italian 90 that I had, I'd be able to recall I'd be able to draw it for you now, and I'm a terrible drawer, but I'm sure you'd be able to work out what it is.
Yeah, no, the nostalgia is one of my favorite things about the world of football, the classic kits, the classic, that Coca Cola ball like you mentioned. So um, actually, again, sort of jumping off of another thing that you mentioned already, which was the fanzines.
Yeah,
You started your own fanzine in
I did.
2012, which was a stand football fanzine.
Yeah, well, before that, actually,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I thought you were going to ask me about the Yeovil one, which not many people ask me about, which is fair enough. But
No,
yeah,
no, go. Tell me about this
I,
Yeovil one. Yeah.
yeah, so I did 2002. I did the first issue of what we called On to Victory, the Yeovil fanzine, and that ran on and off for about 7-8 years, and that sort of gave me the that was. And again, I hate to sound like an old bloke saying it was better than the old days, because it wasn't, to be fair. But I would print it out on Word on the printer, and then cut around it, and then glue it onto basically creating my own fanzine. And then the bloke would just photocopy it. So it all started at very basic, but that went well, and it was great to do it, and I loved doing it. And Yeovil had a couple of fanzines, but never one for that long time. So yeah, and then that led probably about 2007, 2008. I think we finished it. Just because I moved to London, to be honest. Like most people leave the sleepy towns or sleepy areas of Somerset to the big bright lights. I've lived in Manchester and I've lived in London. So I think I was just getting a bit downtrodden with football and everything about it. As a Yeovil fan, I'd grown up non-league football, and I've been able to get the players' autographs when I was 7-year-old with a can of Coke, and it was the best thing in the world. To then growing up and then almost having a pint with the players after games and stuff like that. But then as Yeovil got better, that sort of thing didn't really happen as much, and the players didn't necessarily live in the town, which they used to do, or they used to be locals that would work in the Yeovil, and then they would play football part-time. So it kind of dragged me down a little bit as we got a bit higher, and I saw the so-called promised land, and as part of that, there was a general movement as well, particularly more so in Europe rather than England, and me and a few mates just had spoken on Twitter and social media. There's a lot of things to be said about social media, and has its negative side of things, but the best thing about Twitter and social media, it brings similar people in completely different areas together, and then so that's what happened with Stand, really. And me and Dan, we set up MUNDIAL together. We set up a fanzine called Stand Against Modern Football, and it was very much, it was like the younger child. If you look back at what MUNDIAL is now, it's very much the MUNDIAL version 1, essentially. We wanted it to look good, we wanted it to be designed properly, but still have an element of that fanzine charm, of course. And yeah, we just started asking questions about ticket prices and covering a lot of things that were starting to get talked about a lot more. And then I'm very proud that we won the Football Supporters Federation Fanzine of the Year award, which was 1 year, which was great. And then, if I'm brutally honest, I have to be brutally honest, we probably got a little bit tired of being so focusing on the bad stuff about football, the high ticket prices, the inconsistent and sometimes harsh policing, to not being able to drink at games, and to all these things that that we spoke about on a regular basis. After a while, I realised that the stand against modern football was, if I'm being honest, and it's sad that I'd say this, was fairly futile, because not enough people cared that much, and also the juggernaut that is modern football, if we were saying, had got so big that we were, and again, I didn't want to go back. We didn't do stand to, it's one of the criticisms that we got. We didn't want to go back to the stadiums of the 80s and things like that, and have death traps of stadiums and racism on the terraces and things like that, which was obviously a thing back in the day. We didn't want to do that. It wasn't like some Luddites going, "Oh, this is no good." It was essentially, let's take the good bits of the old bit, and let's keep the good bits of like the safe stadiums and great facilities and good food. You mentioned it there. It shouldn't be it's frowned upon that the food's good somewhere. I'm not saying you have to have these amazing, but if you're paying £8-9 for something, I want it to be taste decent, and I want the beer to taste okay, rather than just a gassy lager out of a warm bottle. We are spectators, and that's what obviously people do a lot better abroad. But we just realised that we got quite tired of fighting that same battle in our way. Obviously, a lot of other people, like the Football Supporters Association or the Football Supporters Federation, as it was known then, would do great things. We had contacts at places like Spirit of Shankly and things like that, and it was great. Met some amazing people. But we just went, just before the World Cup in Brazil in 2014, we went, let's try and turn this on its head a little bit and do something that actually looks at the stuff that makes us care about all the other stuff and makes those things annoying that it's too expensive. But why do we care about it's so expensive? Well, we care because it's so expensive, because we get so excited when that goal goes in, or we love that kit, or we love those boots, or they evoke something in us. So that's what MUNDIAL came about. And then supposed to be a one-off issue ahead of the Brazil World Cup. We sold out really quickly online, and then because again we were all in decent jobs, we weren't looking to create something so big that would end up being a business or anything like that. And MUNDIAL went on from there really, and people asked us when we were going to do it, and when brands started asking us what we were going to do, the Adidas's and the Nikes and Pumas and things like that. Well, we're like, well, we should have a look at this, and it's gone from strength to strength since then, really. Which is a long way of answering the question that you asked.
Just picking on a word that you used earlier with regards to the sort of fighting the good fight on behalf of fans as futile, which again, it's sad to say it, but sort of big football it's a tough nut to crack.
It is, and it's a nice nut, but at times it can be rotten at the core. But I think I remember then I don't know if apologies if I'm jumping ahead here, but this all came together as well with, I really did fall out of love with Yeovil, and that was nothing to do with what happened on the pitch. It was all the off the field stuff, and I for the likes of the Oystons and the Venkis and all these other Ashleys and stuff. Everyone knows about these. No one really knows, apart from hearing from me on various podcast articles and stuff like that. No one really knows what happened at Yeovil, and unfortunately, the powers that be at Yeovil for a good nearly a decade just didn't invest, didn't do anything with the football club. Took it for granted and used it as their siphoned off land that was part of the football club to themselves, which then they benefited from, and that really soured it for me. And I think the thing that soured it the most for me was that it also coincided when my granddad started to get old and couldn't go to as many games, and then got so old that he couldn't go to games. And we all as a family decided not really to go. We obviously followed the fortunes from afar, and all the friends that I'd met over the years, still hold dear to me, and we would meet up, and if it was on telly, of course I'd go and watch it and things like that. But I couldn't bring myself to go to what used to be my home, which was sad. And then my granddad got so old in the end that he never went back. So I kind of resent, and again, this is a personal thing, but I resent the powers that be at the time, who basically ran the club into the ground, and we're back in non-league football, and I love non-league football, but there's no way that a club should go to the second tier of English football and then back in the conference within a matter of 4 or 5 years, just from neglect, really. And it was neglect. It wasn't necessarily. It was neglect. That's what it was. And we had all these amazing fans on the outside trying to do things, trying to change things, but it just never really happened. And unfortunately, I've got a very sour taste in my mouth about it, and that's a shame, because we just talked about how good football is and how it works. But I think it makes me feel so upset and so angry about it still, that because it's so good, and when it's really good, and when someone takes that away from you, and it doesn't feel like it's your club anymore. Towards the end, it never felt like my club. It still doesn't really. It doesn't feel like the club that I grew up and learned to love, and that my granddad told me about when I was a kid. And I know things change as you rise up divisions and things like that, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes too many things change, and sometimes they don't change for the better. So, it's a shame. And I'm doing things like this, and I've done a number of podcasts about this, and just talked about, and I reflect on it, and it is what it is. And Hampton Richmond, so as this coincides, so this me not going to watch Yeovil Town coincided with MUNDIAL and going to watch football all around the world, luckily. And again, before that, I was a TV producer, so I used to get interview football as well. So again, I've been extremely fortunate to work in football. But yeah, I still lost a bit of love, and I think the jadedness from Stan carried over a little bit, I think, and then into the Yeovil stuff as well. And I was just a bit so. And I went to Hampton Richmond, which is the closest club for me, just to tick the ground off the list because I'm a bit of a ground hopper. 165 I'm at now, so I'm quite proud of that. And that was just supposed to be a one-off game, and that was 5 years ago. And now I'm media director. I've been on Supporters Trust board. I'm on the board, the official board of the club now, so I'm involved in all the high-end stuff and all the quite desperately dull stuff that actually matters a huge amount because it keeps these clubs and these communities together, and we've been having to fight that no more so than the last few months when we've not had any fans in and things like that. But yeah, it's a long way around with me saying, yeah, I don't really. I look out for Yeovil's results, and of course, I'll always have a soft spot for them, and I will always chat with them. I'm on a Yeovil WhatsApp group with all the Yeovil fans in London and things like that. So of course we talk about it, and of course I'm well aware of it. But Yeovil played Hampton and Richmond last year in the FA Trophy, and I wanted Hampton and Richmond to win. I think that was a lot of me being a bit resentful of what had happened. It was the first time I'd been back to Hewish Park, shall we say, for a good number of years. But it is what it is. Yeovil battered us 3-0 to be fair, so they had the last laugh. But no, it's yeah, I'd love to take my daughter. I mean, my daughter's 8 now, and I've never taken her to a Yeovil game, and that makes me sad. But I think maybe sometimes too much water goes under a bridge, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's sad hearing you talk about that because I can relate. You know, obviously you can see the scarves behind me. I'm an Arsenal fan, but we haven't had such a fall from grace necessarily. But I've seen the likes of Blackburn, of Bolton, of Sunderland, of Wigan, and I can relate because at the end of the day, the club, it really does become a part of your life, a big part of your life, or it can. I was stupid enough to get an Arsenal tattoo, so I can get rid of the scarves, but the tattoo, not so much. So here's me hoping like an idiot that they don't fall from grace, and then I live to regret this. But moving on, I guess. Sorry, go on.
I nearly got Yeovil Town tattoo, and I sometimes look back on those days and think, well, but
yeah.
It is what it is, and I know you're not supposed to necessarily change your teams, and I wouldn't necessarily have changed my team. I've just grown to love someone else as well.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess that goes to show there's two types of people in this world: but people like you who are smart enough not to get the tattoo, and then the people like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we might jump back to non-league and Hampton and Richmond in just a moment, but back to sort of the MUNDIAL project and a specific sort of offshoot of that we referenced as well, which is the Giant podcast, which was born out of a collaboration with Spotify originally. So that features stories from football fans across the globe and sort of highlights the commonalities of being a football fan no matter where you are, but then also conversely shines light on the unique football experiences and stories that we all have as individuals from different backgrounds. So Seb, can you tell us a bit more about Giant? And then maybe if you could regale me with a story from your travels.
Oh, blimey. Oh, I love the God. No. I'm very fortunate in that we were asked quite a lot if we were going to do a podcast. And we said that we pretty much said from the off that we didn't want to do something that was already being done extremely well, talk about what happened, what happened at the football weeklies and things like that, totally football shows. And there's no point trying to replicate that because it's being done so well. So what's the point in having, even though we might have a slightly different opinion or take on something, it would just be 4 of us sat around a mic going, oh yeah, look at Salah, did he dive? And we might have a few more swear words or whatever, but yeah, it's not going to change. There's no point doing it. So we held off. One thing that, again, my background was TV production, so I made a lot of programs most of the programs that you used to see on Sky that had greatest in the title, like football's greatest teams, anything with the word greatest in the title, which again, I'm very lucky to have done. But we wanted to tell a bit more of a story, and I think we wanted to bring what we do so well with MUNDIAL, be democratic about it. Don't just focus at the top end, the very, very top end, or the best players and the best teams. We wanted to be democratic about it. We wanted to yeah, I mean, again, it's our tagline: remind you why you love football, and luckily, I say luckily, a subscriber of ours was Alex, who worked at Spotify, and it took a while for us to finally seal the deal, shall we say, and they commissioned us to do a 6-part series between 45 minutes and an hour of each episode, and that was obviously brilliant because we wanted to do it properly, and it's something that we always, if we're going to do something, there's no point doing it half-assed. And I know it's an easy thing to say that, and we've turned things down in the past because we don't feel that we can reach the values, the quality, the level of production values and quality that we would want. So obviously having someone like that on board was incredible for us to be able to go and do what we wanted to do. So yeah, the 6-part series, we ended up going to America for 3. I think we were there for 3 weeks, and my wife wasn't too impressed with that one, but it was incredible time talking to, just to give you an example, and again talking about adventures. So we spoke to players about, one of the episodes is about the first season of the MLS. So we spoke about the first season of the MLS to Alexi Lalas. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think. Sunil Gulati, was it the guy, one of the guys who helped set it up, to then fans from DC United who were there as well, so we did that, but also at the same time we interviewed Michelle Akers for the women's episode about Women's World Cup, and we told the story of the Women's World Cup through a player from each tournament and their different experiences of football and how women's football has grown through that. So that was just in America in 3 weeks, and yeah, I've never been on as many flights in such a short space of time, but having the backing of Spotify allowed us to do that, and it allowed us to make the episode sound a lot richer, which we could have obviously, we could have done something on Zoom or Clean Feed or whatever you want to call it with the likes of Michelle Akers and stuff like that, but it was much better being sat on a bucket at a horse ranch while she was throwing balls to a dog and just getting that personality. And it sounds better, doesn't it? It fills the headphones, and that's one of the things that we always want to do with Giant. And we were fortunate in that we were extremely proud of it, of course, the 6-part series, and it won the New York Festival's Radio Awards, gold and silver, alongside ESPN and BBC, which was like, and again, talking about being proud, it's the most proud I've been of anything, and I'm still the most proud of it. And as a result, we got a second series, and it's a slightly different format now. It's weekly over a sustained period, but the episodes are only around 20 minutes, a little bit over 20 minutes on some occasions. But whereas we might have told the whole story of the MLS first season, if we were doing that now in this series, we probably would have chose the first goal, which was Aaron Ronaldo, wasn't it? God, I've done so much since then. We might have done it like that, I've been a bit more focused, a bit more laser focused. But yeah, we've obviously been, like every other person, not just in football, but in the world, been affected by coronavirus. So we've had to do a few more Zoom calls and a few more clean feeds than we would have liked. But that's just the nature of what it's been. But we have managed to get out at various times, and it's been fun. It's been a challenge as well to do something different. Some people say it's difficult. If you're a musician, it's a difficult second album. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to try and do something different to replicate what we've done in the first series, and we'd like to think we have done, and and the feedback we're getting from people is great. And yeah, we're still making stories now. I mean, we're going into a second lockdown, unfortunately, so we're having to amend plans and things like that. But yeah, I'm extremely proud of what we've done. I'm extremely proud of that we've done something slightly different in football podcasts. We use proper archive and the like, and I know other podcasts and things do use elements of that, but the music and his original music as well, and its design, the sound design is again something I'm incredibly proud of, and what Tayo and Harry Harris do with on an audio side of things is incredible. So yeah, if you've never listened to Giant, I'd dive straight into the first series and listen to the AFC Wimbledon one, because I think it's timely, but also it's probably my personal favourite because it's the best story, one of the best stories of football, and luckily we spoke to the best people. I was friends with a couple of them, so And then if you're going to go into the second series, we've done a couple of good ones lately, with one on Pele, one on Maradona, and Maradona played for Tottenham Hotspur, and Ozzy Ideas' testimonial. But yeah, jump in and have a look, and the rest of them are all on the feed, and it's hard work, but it's good fun. We're very fortunate to be doing what we're doing. So
otherwise, moving just back quickly to Giant and Mundial, in terms of the opportunities that's afforded you personally with traveling and being able to attend soccer around the world, I guess. Is there a game in particular or one trip that you made that stands out throughout the whole Mundial Giant experience as something that you would never have been able to do otherwise, that you can't believe you had the opportunity to do?
I think I'll go back to, and not just because of the this podcast, but I will have to go back to the American trip, because we have a very we have a preconceived idea of what Americans are like when it comes to football. You know, there's a reason why Soccer Guy or whatever his name is popular on Twitter, because they think that's what all Americans, or a lot of people think that's what Americans do and absorb football. Obviously, I didn't think that, but even I was surprised at the level of passion, but also the level of knowledge. Like we were sat around a bar in Washington, again, more known, obviously, again, recent events, more known for its politics rather than a sporting hotbed, shall we say. And we're sat in a bar with four people, and we're talking about Trevor Francis when he played in America in late 70s, and how Trevor Francis was this person's hero growing up. And I'm like, that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. That's, you know, you hear these stories of everyone just watched Pele and Beckenbauer and the Cosmos and stuff like this, and you forget that there are all these people that obviously got swept along that whole ride. But Trevor Francis talking and Paul Mariner, they were talking about Paul Mariner and Trevor Francis in such reverence, and I was just like, yeah. And I think I mean, me and Owen, we said it in the podcast, I think, as well, actually, that we went to games. We went to DC United home game, we went to an LA Galaxy home game, and the fandom is different. Of course it's different, because it comes from different people, it comes from a different place. Obviously, again, home with so-called home of football, and we've been doing this for 125 years. But we've been doing it for 125 years doesn't make it mean that we're the best and the best at it and the most important. And so the DC, you know, the MLS, what is it, 25 years is it? I think that's why we did the podcast, something like that. Just the level of, respect, reverence, and the passion that these people have for the game. And again, against all the other sports, which are amazing. I love American football. I like watching baseball. What they had to put up with almost growing up watching football, and before it was a lot bigger than it is now. That takes something, and I think that was the thing that made me. That was the thing that it was insightful, but it was also inspiring as well. Because I remember coming back to people. I said, if you think you know how Americans absorb or engage with football, you don't until you go to, and you're stood on that. I can't remember what the end's called, with the Screaming Eagles, isn't it? With the DC United. And honestly, when that goal went in, it was one of my favourite non-Yeovil Hampton Richmond goals, because the joy and all the different people, and it was brilliant. I loved it. And again, you only have to look at what Americans treat their spectators of all their sports with respect. And you can get the right food. You can I've got some of the drinks. It was fantastic. And yes, I could have a beer by the side of the pitch in the, whatever it was called, the Heineken bar on the corner of DC United. And some people might have gone, oh, well, that's not the pissing wet rain at Barnsley away or something like that. No, it's not. But it doesn't mean that it's not good. And it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it and just go, do you know what? This is a different way of doing different to what we are traditionally used to. It doesn't mean it's any worse for that. And I would say that was my favourite thing. And we were due to go back, obviously before COVID, to go back to America and tell some more American stories. And yeah, I'm obviously gutted that we can at this stage. But yeah, I'd love to. I mean, 2026. I don't know. That is a big road trip for me and a few of us, and just going to watch football around America and Mexico as well, isn't it? It's Mexico.
Yeah, Canada, United States,
and as well,
and
yeah,
Mexico.
exactly.
I can't wait. I'm living here in LA these days, so I'm on.
Yeah, well, we went to Galaxy and LA, and fantastic. I mean, the people and all these people, you know, they just and we. It was just great. I loved it. I really did, and it is. And I've been using my, and I'm not just saying this because they sponsor the Beavers, but I would recommend the FOTMob app. But yeah, I've got DC United down as my team on that. You know, I just because I want, and again, if I can't always watch it or I know what's going on, because they're just, and the people as well. The people, they're fantastic, and but that's what happens when you go to football anywhere in the world. But I went with some preconceptions which were incorrect, and I was, I thought it was, and like I said, I've ever since I came back, I've said, if you ever go to America on holiday or business or anything like that, go to a game. I think, and again, I wish we could have gone for the second series, and hopefully when things calm down one way or another with COVID or anything, political instability, I don't know.
Right, yeah. on today of all days, yeah.
No, sorry. Yeah.
No. Well, I guess I'll just, for that note, we are recording on, well, I guess yesterday technically was election day, wasn't it? But today's the vote.
Who knows what would have happened by the time this goes live? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, they'll know who the president is, because it seems like they're taking their sweet time with it. But anyway, yeah, no, it's good to hear you talk about the game day, because they do call it, what is it, game day here, I guess, as opposed to match day. They would refer to it as, and yeah, even beyond football, soccer, I guess, moving on to like the other sports, they do the tailgating here, which is a unique sort of like pre-game experience.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's a whole day out. I've gone to baseball games here where I've enjoyed the food and the festivities much more than whatever was happening on the actual field. So it's an occasion. And I guess sadly with coronavirus, it's one that is being sorely missed at the moment. In some
definitely. And nothing replicates that being there, does it? And it's funny you mentioned match day. I don't remember match day being a big thing when I was a kid. The phrase match day, I think it's quite it is newish thing, because I think when they look at it, they go match day 1, match day 2, and things like that. And obviously, English football's never been quite like that. So yeah, it's a strange match day. It's a strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, and I might be wrong on this. You can cut this out if I am wrong, but I'm pretty sure the word soccer originated from the UK anyway. And all this stuff about, it's not soccer, it's football. It's football, not soccer. Well, doesn't mean. Who cares?
At the end of the day, American football definitely shouldn't be called football, but that's the only thing I think that is. Well, exactly. That's the only thing that you can maybe have a strong opinion.
Good point. Very good. Good point. Well made that. Yeah, it does. Yeah, these things stick, and I think, like I said, 2026 is going to be a big one, because obviously Hampton Richmond or Yeovil Town have not done pre-season tours of America, not yet anyway. So if anyone's listening, more than happy to do it when COVID allows. But I know, and I've known mates who've gone and watched Man United and Liverpool and teams like that. Looks great. I mean, why? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, when they do the pre-season tours, it's a big deal over here.
And again, it's not friendlies. No one really cares about the match, do they? Friendly? No one, not really. But it's all the stuff around it, isn't it? It's all the stuff that makes you excited, that the stadium's got 80,000 people in, you're having a tailgate, or you're chatting to some bloke from wherever. That's the beauty of football, brings people together in like most sport, but probably not as many sports can compete with football in brilliant. You can mention anywhere in the world, when I've been to so many places, fortunate to, you just start talking football. It's just the easiest connection and the easiest link to chat to someone, and that's it. You're on then, aren't you? It's fine, yeah.
Yeah, and you can tell that it's growing over here, because now it's gotten to the point, even with these preseason friendlies, where back in the day it would have been whichever club coming out to play the Galaxy, to play DC United. Now you're seeing Arsenal play Bayern Munich in Colorado. And you're not banking on the Colorado fans to come in and watch their team play Arsenal. These are just people who want to see two European clubs play for the sake of it because they're fans of soccer, fans of football.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's really come a long way.
Yeah, again, I would just reiterate what I've said. If you are in America, and obviously none of us might not be there or around for a while, but yeah, I would leave your preconceptions or any ideas that you think you know about American soccer or Major League Soccer, or whatever you want to call it. It's it's a brilliant place to watch football.
Yeah, leave them at what is it, the check-in at the airport? What's that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Leave your preconceptions there. One last question for you, Seb.
Sure.
Just jumping quickly back to Hampton Richmond Borough and the work that you do for them as the director of the media. So, how, without having been in the position of working for a Premier League club, for instance, besides, I guess, sort of the budget and the exposure, how do you think, if in any ways, does your role doing what you do for them differ from the same job title if you were to be at, say, a Manchester United?
Yeah, I suppose obviously these teams, they'll have teams just on social media. They'll have teams on a specific platform on social media, of course, and rightly so, because one of the world's biggest football clubs, you need to, and then you'd have teams language, the Chinese version, the Spanish version, and things like that. I suppose. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was maybe a little bit naive in thinking, oh yeah, I'll just do it. I'll help them out with things. And when I'm posting tweets at 11, I'm posting a part 3 of a post-match interview with the manager after a friendly, like I was last night. I do not regret. I don't look at it as a bad thing. But yeah, I was probably a bit naive to think, oh yeah, it'd be fine. I can just help them out, and we'll find some people. But I think, again, it's volunteer-based again. Everyone I know and everyone that works with me, the photographer, Ben, who's my so-called assistant, but much more than that. And then there's a WhatsApp group of about 7 or 8 of us. And we all wear different hats. One does the program, one does the stats for the website and stuff like that. Again, I think you wear many hats at this level because you have to. And that's not just in terms of media stuff, but everything. Some of the things I've been dealing with the last couple of days involved talking to the guys who are going to put some sponsor boards around the ground because it's on telly and things like that. So yeah, it's not technically media, but yeah, I think that's where a difference and when you're doing it as a volunteer, you have to really, it's not like someone's paying you X amount to do it. If you're doing it as a volunteer, you're making that special effort, and yeah, it's fun. I love it, and I'm very proud of what we've started to do with Hampton Richmond in terms of the output. Don't get me wrong, I know it's a 6th tier English football club in the suburbs of London. I am not for a second expecting us to be known throughout the world and get stupid number, tens of thousands of followers and stuff. But again, it goes back to that quality thing. If we've got some people, whoever, maybe yourself or someone like yourself, just following our fortunes and might buy a shirt and might chip in for the food bank that we do as well and things like that, and that's fine. I think that's great, and I don't necessarily want. There's no. Well, we're not going to be able to take over the world, so let's just forget that. But it doesn't. It's great, and one of the things that we wanted to do during lockdown was provide free streams, not just to reward our own fans for their loyalty for various reasons during lockdown, and whether they helped out with the food bank or whether they share it, just from everything from sharing tweets to helping spread the word about the stadium name draw. We did a raffle for the name of our stadium, and we kind of spun that naming rights thing on its head, rather than put something nondescript that no one really cared about just because they gave us some money. We charged tickets £10 each, but anyone could do it. You could enter as many times as you want, and it would be your name on the stadium or a charity, whatever you choose. And that garnered as much, nearly as much money as we got from one person, but all the associated attention that it got was great. So the streams that we're doing, and we once carried it on with the streams on YouTube. Again, we're only able to do it because of the amazing volunteers. We've got some very technically minded volunteers, I have to say, Dave and Jason, who I say thanks to on a daily basis. But yeah, we had a game against Eastbourne a couple of weeks ago. and there was nearly 600 people watching it, pretty much.
It's like the Battle of the Boroughs, right?
Yeah, the Battle of the Boroughs, exactly. See,
Yeah.
someone was listening. No, I like it. No, it's good. Yeah, sometimes you say things on commentary and you wish you didn't, but again, we try and be a bit irreverent about it. I'm not expecting 600 of those people to come on here and know exactly what is happening, who are the players, who are the Hampton and Richmond. I want them to just, again, try and replicate that charm at non-league football, but albeit on a stream on YouTube. I get it. It's not, it's taking something and trying to make something completely different, but I like to think we've done it, and I know Dulwich are doing a similar thing. I said I know Hampton are doing a similar thing. It's a great opportunity for football clubs. And if we pick up Fulham fans that come to some games, and they might come to a few more games when we restart, or we're very lucky, we've got Fulham, QPR, Brentford, not far at all down, very nearly had another Premier League team on our doorstep. Yeah. It would have been great. I would have loved that, because then when there's international weekends and the like, and we say, well, then come down and watch this for £10 or whatever, and have a pint, and which you can't do. Again, not trying to convert them into this, come on every week. Non-league football has to be adaptable, and everyone at the club has to have that same mentality. You have to be welcoming to if this is their first time they've come to this old, very different stadium, then treat people with respect. And and again, I think that's one of the beauties of Hampton and Richmond. I know most non-league clubs have it, to be fair.
Hopefully you'll be getting excited in the commentary box for your upcoming FA Cup game for Hampton.
Well, yeah, but it's funny actually. We won't be doing it because it's on BBC Sport, it's on BBC Radio London. It's on so many different ways. It just felt good. And we have to manage that and have to liaise with that. It's a shame, because obviously I'd love to have done that, and there's obviously various contractual things related to this progressing this far in the FA Cup. But, that's fine. I'm not saying. I think it'd be nice to try and, again, we've got the different print media. We've got photographers that wouldn't normally be at the game. We normally have one photographer. We've got we've had 10 different people apply for it. We can only fit a certain amount because of COVID. So it just goes to show, and we've got a crew of BBC people there, and it's going to be great. And it'll be a great day for the football club, apart from the fact that no fans will be there. But which is, there was 3,000 there last time, and Oldham scored in the 5th minute of injury time to win. But it was still it was certainly the best night in my Hampton and Richmond Borough supporting life. That's a short life, I get it, but people talk about it fondly, and it would be a real shame that it won't be buzzing. And we're trying to do a few little things like get fans to record messages, which then we play over the tannoy and stuff like that, and they help choose the playlist to make. And little things like that. And they're not the same. Of course, they're not the same as being there, but that's what we're trying to do. And anything that we can, and that the fans can submit questions for the press conference that we're putting on tomorrow, and things like that, just to try and make them feel part of it, even though obviously they can't be on the day. But who knows? I don't know when this podcast is going out, but we might be in the second round for the first time in our history. But we'll
when's the game again?
The game's on Sunday.
Sunday. I'd imagine this might be after the fact, so this will be.
That's fine. But hopefully, you're listening to this and going, "Oh, didn't they do well against Oldham?" And they're in the second round away to Sunderland, which would be something.
Exactly.
Football's football. It's going to be very hard test for Hampton and Richmond. But we're a better team than we were last time we played them, and I don't know if they're much better than when we last played them. So. That's based purely on where they are on the table and things like that.
Well,
so we'll see.
I'll be watching, and probably Paul Scholes will be watching too. He's an Oldham fan.
Well, yeah, because he's manager of Salford at the moment, and I think.
He might be busy. Okay.
I know, but I think they're playing on the Saturday, so okay.
Well, there you go. There'll be two gingers watching at least.
Yeah, he won't. Well, Dan Sanson, the co-founder of MUNDIAL with me, he's a redhead, so he might be watching.
The strength in numbers. There you
go. He often takes a mickey out of me for my Hampton. Joking aside, obviously we have an office of the 4 directors. Two Liverpool fans, 1 West Ham fan, and then 1 Hampton Richmond Borough fan. It often leads to quite a few funny comments in various meetings and stuff. But hopefully that portrays the democracy or whatever the variety that we have in our output.
Yeah, I typically, like I said, you didn't get to meet him, but my co-host is a Spurs fan, so we really sort of like come at it from opposite ends.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, well,
yeah, yeah, I don't, yeah, and that's one thing I never really had growing up when I was watching Yeovil. We had Weymouth who our rivals.
okay.
This season, for the first time in 25 years, they're in the same league, something like that. I think Weymouth are above Yeovil now, which hasn't gone down too well, but never really had that sort of that huge, that kind of that crunch, which I love to, I'm very jealous when I see my friends, I know Liverpool and Everton fans, I am Man City fans, and yeah, of course, it looks
it's
good.
only nice when you win,
Well, of course, yeah, it probably makes, yeah,
it goes either way.
From one of those dreadful defeats, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully Yeovil can get the better of Weymouth this season.
Yeah, again, I think that might be quite soon actually, because I was half toying with going with a few of my old friends, because Weymouth, despite our dislike of each other as a football team, Weymouth's a very nice seaside town, and it's got a number of drinking establishments which I would thoroughly recommend. It's great for kids, obviously being by the sea.
Right.
So if anyone is listening, yes, I don't like the football team Weymouth, because that's what I was brought up to do, but lovely place. Go.
And lovely fish and chips, and that's coming from a vegetarian, so they must be good.
Well, yeah, that is true. Yeah. Although I'm a pescatarian, so I do eat fish. So yeah.
Me too. I've been a pescatarian for, I think you said you've been doing it 2 years. I've been doing it probably 12-ish.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I miss my Bovrils at the football match. I used to.
Right. Yeah, the Kidderminster. Yeah, the broth.
Having a Bovril, and whether it was pre-season and it was 25 degrees, welling away, I'd have a Bovril.
Right.
But it's 25 degrees. I'm like, yeah, but it's just what I do at football. I found that one quite hard, to be fair, but I do believe this week actually a meat-free Bovril came out. I think it might be a beetroot version of Bovril.
Well, there you go.
I don't know. Sounds
very. We're not lovers of Bovril, but not lovers of meat.
Beetroot
is on the way.
Yeah, it does sound very Dwight Schrute, which might not be a bad thing, given that that is the best TV program that's ever been made, maybe, arguably, in my opinion. But that I don't know if it'll catch on at Hampton Richmond. Maybe I'll get some at Hampton Richmond when the fans are back, and we'll see how it goes. But
it could be the flagship.
It could be interesting.
Bovril club. Yeah. Well, Seb, that brings us to the end of today's interview. It's been brilliant chatting with you.
I've not on too long. I've not said too many times, but thanks very much for asking me. And like I say, what I would say is I've been very fortunate to do what I've done in my life, and I've also been fortunate and had lucky opportunities at the right time, shall we say? But it's very easy to it's easier to get into football now, and there's obviously different means, podcasts, blogs, websites, all different things, whatever. I would just say, if anyone is wanting to do something like that, or to do something in football, then I would, and it's one thing I've learned massively from the volunteer team at Hampton Richmond, is just, if I'll just get in at the bottom, put as much work in as you can. If you're going to say you're going to turn up. That's always hard. Don't get me wrong, when we've all had hangovers, and non-league trips away might not sound like the most exciting thing, but I would say volunteer at your local league, non-league club, local, help in any way you can, because if you're good enough, people will notice you, and that's important. And I can tell you now, from the other side of the spectrum, it's massively appreciated, and you'll have fun as well, because it's whatever level of football it is, or whatever group of fans, or whoever you're working with, then it's great fun, and why not? And you'll meet some great people. But I would definitely say just persevere. But thanks very much for asking me to come on, and and thanks. Good luck with the podcast, because I know how hard it is to do. And
no, I appreciate it. Thank you for being my guest, and thanks for, like I said, typically I'd have somebody else here, so I appreciate you putting up with how obnoxious I can be by myself. So I commend you.
No, not at all.
Hanging in there. But I guess just before you jump off, Seb, how can our listeners follow you personally, and otherwise, how can they follow your endeavours like Hampton Richmond Borough or MUNDIAL's giant podcast?
I would go to most people have Spotify nowadays, I imagine. just follow us on if you type in Giant into Spotify, it will come up with our page and our feed. Just follow us, and I'm not expecting everyone to listen to every single episode. Of course not. There's not enough time. There's too many other good things in there as well. But listen to the ones that pique your interest, or maybe listen to the ones that you probably don't think that are different. That's one of the things. Again, what I said about American experience. I would have listened to an MLS story. Of course, I would have done, but. Some people were like, well, I listened to the MLS one. Actually, I really enjoyed it. It was almost like a surprise. I'm like, why wouldn't you? It's a great thing. But yeah, so follow Giant HRBFC at HRBFC on Twitter, and HamptonFC.net is our website. I realise that's a branding thing that I need to rectify. Don't worry. It's our centenary next year, so we'll try and do that at the same time. And HRBFC Live has a link to all the radio commentaries that we do at away games and all the free YouTube streams that we do at home games. So, yes, once we get this Oldham game out of the way, then we'll be back to lower league football. I think we're playing Hungerford on Tuesday night, so we haven't got time. We haven't got much time to recover, or certainly the players haven't. I mean, it depends how well the game goes. I might need a few days recovery if we end up winning. But yeah.
Well, hopefully you do. I guess.
Yes, fingers crossed. And you will know this if you are listening to this. You will know what the score is, and if we have been battered 5-0, then I would still say watch Hampton Richmond. They're very good. We obviously had a bad day at the office. But yeah.
Well,
thanks very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again, Seb.